Hi, I'm Chris with iTrees.com, and we were out on a job today and just happened to be driving by one of my customers' yards. So I thought maybe with his permission I could do kind of a walking tour of some trees that we planted over here. I know he's got a great mix and it looks really great. A lot of these were planted over the last 3 years. Some were planted this year, some 2 years ago, some 3 years ago. The one right to my right here is a royal red Norway maple. And this is one that a lot of people like in their front yard because it adds some year-round color, a real splash of color. It's a maple tree, a Norway maple, with this purple foliage all year long. And they're very popular. You've probably seen them around. This particular one is a 2.5 inch, just to kind of give you an idea of size. Some of the major benefits for this tree is not only the color, but they're also very tough, very hardy. We have very little problems with them. You know, they're a little slower growing compared to some of the other maples, but they really give you that splash of color. Over here to the right, off the corner of the house, we had planted a river birch, and this was probably planted at 10 to 12 feet, probably about 3 years ago. They really grow fast. You can see how much it's already grown. You'll see these a lot in people's yards off the corner of the house or in the backyard along berms or patios. This is one of our favorite trees. It's one of my favorite trees for sure. And it's got speed of growth. It's got a beautiful exfoliating bark. It's just really thick and dense, and it has a bright gold fall color that just can't be beat. We grow some of the nicest river birch around anywhere, and you really just can't go wrong with this tree. I would love to see one go in every single yard. Over in the front, I thought I'd just mention, this isn't one that I actually planted, but they have a crabapple off the front landscape here. This is something that you see often in the front of the house to kind of frame it and add a little color in the spring. So I'm not sure what particular variety this is, but I thought it's worth mentioning. Right over here is one of our favorite trees, one of our highest recommended maples. This is a State Street maple, and it's a newer variety of tree, or I should say it's newly popular. It's actually an older variety of tree, but you know, over the last several years, we've really discovered how great it is as a landscape tree. Some of the great things about it are the exfoliating, or rough bark, which is definitely different from a lot of the other maples. Gives it a little bit of characteristic. It's got a different shaped leaf, and it's got a really bright gold fall color that's just unbeatable. But I think probably my favorite thing about these trees is just they're real tough, durable, hardy trees. They thrive in almost any situation. They still have, you know, you don't sacrifice the color because they still have a beautiful fall color, and they have a really nice speed of growth. Another thing I should mention is that they don't get quite as big as some other maples. They're kind of a medium to large tree, so they fit really nice in a lot of suburban yards. You know, this is definitely one you want to check out. Right now we'll head into the backyard and check out a couple different things that we've put in the backyard over the years. Okay, so we're in the backyard now, and you can see the two bigger trees, the oak and the red maple. These were actually already here when we first started on this job, so they were really beneficial to have a couple really nice sized trees when they moved in to this house. So that's definitely a big head start. Normally, when this isn't there, that's supposed to be a big focus point on some of the stuff we plant. We'd be making sure to get that shade up on the house and to shade that patio. They got a bit of a head start. We did add in a crabapple there to give them a little bit of interest and color in the spring, and it really kind of helps break up the front landscape and make it something really pretty to look at. As you can see, they have a big yard. All these trees around the edge here are stuff we have planted over the years. I'll just take a walk through quickly and give you kind of a rundown on each of the trees. But first, what I wanted to do was talk real quick about this red sunset that we planted last year. We planted this tree last year, and as you can see, it's kind of turning a little bit early. It's mid-September, so it's not real early, but it's getting its fall color and losing leaves a little bit early. We get a lot of questions about this, and you know, the main thing with this is transplant stress. We had a lot of real challenging weather this year. It was dry and hot all through the summer. It was wet and cold all through the spring, and it just wasn't ideal conditions. But this tree is very healthy. When a tree displays transplant stress, it typically goes into its fall color early. You might see it even go in and out of its fall color all through the summer when it's real hot. Some of this can be corrected by watering and making sure it's getting the proper amount of water. But other times it's just as the tree is under stress, it's really focusing on pushing out roots. So it's not necessarily something to always be concerned about. As this tree settles in and gets more acclimated to this site here, it's going to thrive and be perfect. Right down here you'll notice a really nice tree we planted about 2 or 3 years ago at about 2.5 inch. And this is an autumn blaze maple. Now this is probably a 4 or 5 inch tree. You can see it's very full, it's growing tremendously. An autumn blaze maple is a really fast growing tree. It's got a bright red-orange fall color that's really a standout in the fall. And it's actually a hybrid between a red maple and a silver maple. From the silver maple side, which aren't technically known for being very nice trees, the silver maple though gives it the speed of growth, and it gives it some extreme toughness and ruggedness. They'll grow just about anywhere. But they got the better traits to mix in from the red maple, and that is the fall color, a nicer shape, stronger branching. So this has been a very popular tree over the last decade. Most people know what it is, and it's always a good recommendation, especially for challenging locations where you need a bit of color in the fall. Just kind of to get started on this back berm, we'll start on the corner here where we planted some Whitespire Birch. A lot of people are familiar with paper birch or some of the other white-barked birches. Those older birch, white-barked birches had a lot of problems with a birch borer, and they're really not something that should be planted around this area very often anymore. But this Whitespire is a white-barked birch that is resistant to that beetle, so they're perfectly fine to plant, especially if you want to get that color or you like the looks of those white-barked birches. These are going to get a bright gold fall color. They have a really pretty leaf. Obviously the tree bark color is something that people really enjoy. So we kind of put a little cluster here in the corner. They look good in groves. Birch is one of our favorite trees, so definitely a good recommendation. Right down the line here is one of our other most highly recommended trees. This is an autumn Brilliance Serviceberry. They're great for screening. As you can see, they're more of a bush-like tree, so they have a good blockage, especially in situations around property lines or around patios, things like that. They get a white flower in the spring. They get a red edible berry in the summer that tastes like a blueberry. And they get a bright red fall color, so they're a great 3-season tree. This is definitely one of our highest recommended ornamentals. You can see off the front here, we put in another big shade tree. This is an emerald lustre Norway maple. We put this in a few years ago, and it's already grown tremendously. We put it in at about 2.5 inch. It's already 5 inch. It's really full. Emerald lustre Norway maples have a good speed of growth. They're very tough. They are really good in pretty much any conditions. They'll handle pretty much any soil type. They have a really big leaf that provides a really heavy dense shade, and then in the fall they get a brilliant gold fall color. Just a wonderful tough tree for any yard. As you can see, a few more Serviceberry behind me. We really like to put these in groupings. They don't get too big. They only get about 15 to 20 feet tall by about 15 feet wide. So they look good in clusters and to do screening like this. Behind that, you'll see kind of dotted in here are some white pines. As far as the pines go, this is my favorite kind. This is our biggest recommendation. White pines have a long, soft needle, which is really cool. And as far as evergreens go, they're a pretty fast grower. So we use them a lot where people want evergreens or want a year-round blocking for screenage. They do get big. They grow 60 feet tall and 30 or 40 feet wide, so they're a big evergreen. But none of the evergreens are extremely fast growing, but as far as speed of growth, this is one of the faster ones. We dotted in here a nice clump Prairifire Crabapple, and we grow these in tree form like a normal tree or in clump form like this. We use the clump form a lot for screening. This one just went in last year. They're another fast-growing tree. They're going to give you beautiful pink flowers in the spring, a nice purplish red foliage, dark bark, and you know, they're just a great all-around tough tree where you need some color. Just moving on down the line, we looked at earlier river birch in the front yard, so I won't spend too much time on it, but this is just another example of this phenomenal tree. This was put in probably 3 years ago at 10 or 12 foot. It's already doubled that in size. You know, you can't really see the trunks in there, but they're, you know, 6 or 7 inches. And all of our river birch are clump form, meaning they're gonna have several trunks, but they take to pruning well. So you can actually prune them up as high as you want. If you want them to be like a normal shade tree, you prune them up to 7 feet. Or if you want to leave them for the screening, you just leave them pruned down like this. Just coming around the end here, around this corner, he really wanted some wind blockage for this basketball court area, but also just some screening. So one of our biggest recommendations for evergreens is the Colorado blue spruce. You can't match the color with any other evergreen or really any other tree because they have that silvery blue color all year round. They're a nice, predictable evergreen. They grow great in groupings together like this. They get about 50 feet tall by about 20 feet wide. So they stay kind of narrow, and most people are familiar with this tree. It adds a little splash of color for an accent purpose, or it's a really durable evergreen for windbreaks and stuff like that. We saw some Whitespires down at the other end. Those were single trunks. This is a clump Whitespire birch. This is typically how we grow them. Just kind of a different look to them, but you can tell they're a little bit different looking than the river birch. And then over here on the end, we just put another grouping of some smaller spruce. We carry them at many different sizes. So, you know, I hope that gives you kind of an idea of how we go about recommending setups for where trees go in the yard. We like to put a lot of diversity in the landscape, and we especially like to use plants that are not only interesting, but are also very durable, cold hardy, and aren't going to give you problems down the road. We have a huge variety, we have a huge selection. We welcome you to come out and pick out trees yourself, or we're more than happy to pick out trees for you. We're always available if you have questions, and if you do have any questions right now, please head on over to our website, iTrees.com. I wanted to add in a few other things about this customer's yard. A lot of people are constantly calling me and asking about privacy. They want to put in privacy from their neighbors. You know, you can barely tell, but there's a house right on the other side of this berm. Whenever people are talking to me about privacy, they always come, you know, they always say, I want to get a row of arborvitae, I want to get a row of these evergreens to block this such and such a view. Well, we do carry arborvitae. We have plenty of different kinds and, you know, all different kinds, whatever you need. However, this gives you an example of something we like a lot more than a row of arborvitae. This customer, who actually designed this berm himself with a little input from us as far as what trees, you know, would be the best fit. But here he has a lot of diversity. He's got some evergreen, he's got some flowering trees, he's got some shade trees, and just look how beautiful this looks. Not only does it provide screening, which is pretty much year round, but also it's going to provide a diverse habitat for wildlife, beautiful screen, you know, with flowers and different things flowering at different times. And it just really looks natural, and it's going to look beautiful. This is also a good example. This customer, some of the trees he planted himself. We brought them out, we delivered them, we set them where he needed them in the yard, and he did the work himself, and he saved a little bit of money that way. You know, and sometimes he was too busy, so we'd come out and plant the trees for him. You know, we just want to make it easy for our customers. If you have something that, you know, if you want us to deliver them and plant them yourself and save a little, few dollars, that's more than fine with us. But we're also very happy to do the work for you, or we're more than happy to work with you if you have some other ideas. So I just thought this was a great example when I was driving by of a yard. So wanted to give you kind of a little idea of what we do. If you do have any questions, please feel free to check out the website and give us a call.